voice of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. I didn't say that very well. Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on, I don't know that I'm going to call it a beautiful Tuesday. Let's call it hotter than you know what, muggy summer. And we welcome all of you in. We got a good show for you today. Tony Basilio at 3:20, and that right there guarantees it will be good. Most of you who happen to be watching by way of podcast have probably figured out that yet again today we will not be at the Ford Ice Center. However, we will be back there tomorrow and looking forward to it. Let's go to Murfreesboro to get it started and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing great, George. How you doing?
Have you recovered?
Oh man, I'm still. I don't know. I heard the song today that my daughter went down the aisle to. So I had another moment today. Man, my manhood is not yet back.
So another waterworks show?
Absolutely.
Maybe? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Have you got everything cleaned up, you think?
Yes, everything's good. Everything is gone pretty much. We've got a lady coming over here and getting the rest of the stuff today, and then you will not have known that there was a wedding at my house a couple of days ago.
How many hours do you think you've spent on cleanup? Honestly.
I don't know. My wife and I went out Sunday afternoon and cleaned all the tables off. It came a rain shower, and then we got out there and we had to get all the stuff off the tables, the wax that was on the tables. We had to get all that off. So yeah, it's time consuming, that's for sure.
Ooh. It sounds like a royal pain.
It is.
Speaking of which, here's Billy.
That's right. The biggest royal pain of them all.
Royal pain.
Hello, Billy.
Royal pain, huh?
Exactly. Royal pain.
Kelly, I'll take you off this screen.
And is that going to bother me or affect my life in either way, Billy? No, it's not.
That's always the response.
It looks right now that we've got a bigger picture on me than we do on the other two. Is that true,
same, George?
It's the same, George.
It may be because your head's bigger. That's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Maybe that's what looks different.
Here's a picture of Fenway Park.
Yeah, let's just look at that instead.
Fenway Park. Nice.
If you've never sat out in the outfield, and I got the chance to do this picture was about 14 years ago. Fenway is such a stud. Man, I love that place.
What's the best of the old ballparks? Fenway, Wrigley.
It's a tie, honestly. What have I just done to the camera? It looks like I've become a blurry mess.
Yeah, you look blurry.
We don't have to see you, which is good.
Yeah. What caused that, Billy?
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe we'll get intern Hugh on that at the break.
Yeah, it doesn't look real well. Actually, it looks fine because nobody has to see me. But if you're wondering about Wrigley, I'm trying to pull up a picture on a ballpark tour that I was involved in. There's a great picture of Wrigley. That is Wrigley
Nice.
Field with free tickets.
Freebie.
Nice.
IB, Weeby, Freebie. That's the conjugation of the verb to be. Okay. Kind of a strange start to the show, I'd say. Billy, do you have an update with any substance to it, or is it just the normal gook?
The normal. The
You have
normal
gotten kind
goof.
of normal here lately, Billy. Let's just be honest. It's been normal.
Well,
And
you want me
we're
to-
not, George is not paying you to be normal. He's paying you to be extraordinary.
by the way,
Wow.
NFL Live is on ESPN right now. They are broadcasting from Tight End University at Vandy here in Nashville.
So is that on ESPN too?
That's on ESPN.
Okay, hold on. I'm turning it over to that.
That's the I think George Kittle started that. I think it's 2, maybe 3 years old.
Yeah.
But tune that in. But tune in the show because we got a good update. It's brought to you by X Golf here in Nashville. They got a Franklin location out at 209 South Royal Oaks. Book your tee time now at playxgolf.com. Don't miss out on the restaurant and bar. Fuel your game with ice-cold beers on tap, craft cocktails, fine wines, and a menu packed with shareable bites and tasty appetizers and much more. On NFL Live, they're talking about the news of the day in the NFL, which is Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers is pretty sure this will be his final NFL season. On the Pat McAfee show this morning, he said, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. That's why we just did a 1-year deal. The Steelers didn't need to put any extra years on that or anything. So this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. So don't think that's a big surprise.
Whatever. What happens?
Why you always got something smart to say about Aaron, man?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: what if he plays lights out this year?
I hope he does.
Well, I hope
and then
he does
rides
too,
off into the sunset. I hope he wins a Super Bowl and rides off into the sunset. Although, being a Steelers hater, I hope that doesn't happen.
Oh wow! So you're the pot calling the kettle black.
Oh, there's no question. I'm a Steelers hater. I hated having to play him twice a year.
How much do you think he has left in the tank? Honestly,
if you can protect him, I think he can still he can't move around like he used to. Obviously, he's gotten older, and I think that was part of his game, and I think that's what's missing in his game. And when you do what he did in his latter stages of his career with tearing his Achilles, I'm sure that's in the back of his mind to not move around as much. But if you can get him protected, he can still throw the ball now.
Okay.
In college baseball, take a look at the ratings from over the weekend. The College World Series Finals was the most watched 2-game series on ESPN platforms ever, averaging 2.5 million viewers. Game 2 on Sunday recorded 2.8 million viewers, the 6th most watched College World Series game ever recorded. That's not a big surprise to me, but college baseball is growing. I think the next step is making Game 2 of the final series a night game. Because playing Saturday at night and then turning around, especially for that losing team in Game 1, you got to turn around and play at 1:00. Especially for Coastal, a team that was playing in front of 25,000 LSU fans. That's not the easiest thing to do in the world. But
It didn't seem like y'all. It didn't seem like this year though. I thought they've done a really good job of promoting softball, but I didn't see much softball this year. Why did they take? Am I just not seeing it, or did they take some of it away?
The softball is a week or two earlier than the men's stuff.
But I still didn't see it. Like turning the channel and stuff, I didn't see it. Like I used to watch it. Like I enjoy watching the softball when it gets to the Women's College World Series and all that, when it gets down to it, because that's an exciting game. But it just didn't seem like it was promoted like it has been the last couple of years. Maybe it's just me.
I think it's more you.
Okay. It might have been that they didn't have as many games on ESPN maybe this year. Maybe some of them were on ESPN too. But Oklahoma wasn't in the College World Series on the women's side. I don't think. I think they lost before they got there. So maybe that was it. They how many straight did they win? George, wasn't it something?
I don't know, but their
was it like 5 years?
Unbelievable.
Was it like 5 years in a row?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. But maybe it was them not being in it. But that's what we got in college baseball. Speaking of baseball at the big league level, the process of sort of tearing down and basically renovating Bristol Motor Speedway for the Braves and Reds in the Speedway Classic is underway. Much of the concrete infield is no longer visible It's been replaced by a baseball infield carved atop almost 20,000 tons of gravel as they begin to ramp up their work installing a baseball field and the necessary facilities with less than 40 days remaining until the game on August 2nd. George, are you going to that?
Probably not.
I mean, this is going to be, I had honestly forgotten. I know we talked about this when it was announced, but it's really, I'm going to try to pull some pictures up later in the show, but the field is being constructed on approximately half the infield. The process included using 17,000 tons of gravel to level and create the field. And there's pictures out that they'll be setting up basically a pregame party outside the stadium. They'll have concerts. This is going to be a historical event.
Oh yeah. Listen, I think there's a lot about it that's very cool. Am I excited about the possibility of trying to figure out how to get home that night? Not really. Because I don't see with 150,000 people or 100 and whatever number they end up drawing, I can't see that being an overly smooth get out of the ballpark.
I can't either. I know they'll have to clear everything off the field prior to they've got a night race on September 13th that they'll have to get cleared out. So that could be tough, but going to be really cool.
Here's the other thing. And look, I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer on this. I have a feeling you'll need a telescope in certain parts of that stadium to see anything.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the sight lines are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the outfield seat's probably the best seat in the house, the ones that'll be closer that they put in, but we'll see what that looks like. We'll also have to see what the Predators look like this season. Barry Trotz is actually at the podium right now for his latest press conference. The Predators have hired Luke Richardson as an assistant coach. He replaces Todd Richards, who will not return to the organization. According to the team, Richardson will focus primarily on the defense, with the Predators looking for a new voice and a new set of eyes for their back end. Richardson was with the Blackhawks from 2022 to 2024 and was fired in December. He's been with the Canadiens, the Islanders, the Senators. So another move for the Preds ahead of the draft, which is Friday night.
Look, it kind of all comes down to this. October better look way different when they hit the ice in the regular season. In that first month, there better be some serious different look and feel to this, or a bunch of that group's not going to be here. It's that simple.
Yeah, how long is the leash for Brunette this season?
Well, I don't really know. I'm hoping we can get Barry on before the draft. Ultimately, he's the general manager and it comes down to him. But is there pressure applied from other places? Because what cannot happen is a repeat of a year ago where they were out of contention before Thanksgiving and everybody knew it. Yeah. It's hard to sell tickets that way.
Well, we'll see what happens with the Preds. George, the Braves continue their domination of the Mets as they beat New York again last night, 4-0 against the Mets. So far this season, Ronald Acuna had a 419-foot blast that padded the Braves' lead. Maybe they need to keep playing the Mets every game this season.
Well, I don't know what the secret sauce is, and apparently they don't either, because if they did, they'd use it on other teams. They've gotten really good starting pitching in this 4-game thing where they've beat the Mets, and tonight they have Spencer Strider trying to make it 3 really good starts in a row where you can say, okay, he's back. Billy, I want to get all excited about it, but if Chris Sale's injury is, considerably longer than 15 days, I don't think they've got any chance.
So they put him on the 15-day disabled list. Is that what they did?
Yeah, but it's a cracked cracked ribs, broken ribs, whatever. I
Hmm.
mean,
Mm.
you know better than I do. How long does that take to
6 weeks for a bone. It's 6 weeks for a bone and all that stuff to heal. So, and some people can get, if you're younger, some people can do it a little faster, but like it's normally 6 weeks for a bone to heal, 6 to 8 weeks. So,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't want
that's
to
not
play.
fun.
I don't want to play doctor because he's made it clear that it won't be that long. And he actually went on the trip with them to New York. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's something better here.
It's just pain tolerance. So when you get a rib injury like that's what it is. Like if
Yeah.
you can take it, then you can do it. But like it's tough because if you cough when you're going to the bathroom, it hurts.
Yeah.
All right, a piece of high school news that I know caught my attention today. Lipscomb Academy freshman quarterback Ty Snell, very talented, rising freshman star. He has an offer from Tennessee, Ohio State. He's picked up some big-time offers. His family is moving back to Texas, and they're considering enrolling him at IMG Academy in Florida. So he is leaving Lipscomb Academy, like I said, at Power 5 offers from Ohio State. Vandy has an offer for him, Mississippi State. So tough loss for Lipscomb Academy, but whoever gets him is getting a really talented quarterback.
Let me ask what some people will think is a dumb question. Should there be a rule that schools cannot offer a scholarship until a certain time?
I've thought that, I don't, it's kind of hilarious to me that you have 7th, 8th grade, mostly on the baseball side, these kids already having offers. But I mean, you're seeing on the football side too, Kelly. I mean, I'm sure you saw it when you were coaching. Kids, that are rising juniors already have offers, and I mean, if you're talented enough, some sophomores. So I think there should, Jordan. Maybe junior year. Feels like senior year might be a little too late, but it is getting a little ridiculous.
Well, it was not like that when I was growing up and when I was getting recruited. It was not. They started doing that, like sending you letters when you were a junior and kind of expressing interest towards you. But then, it was all when you were a senior. And nowadays, like when you're offering these kids so young, George, like now you're putting something in their head. Now, are they playing as hard because I don't want to get hurt? I've already got a scholarship. I'm already going to college. There's no motivation. It's just like the Live Tour. There's no motivation for those guys. They've already gotten their money. They've gotten paid. I was listening to a guy one day, and he said, I wanted to see, because on the PGA Tour, when the tournament is over or when the day is over with, everybody goes to the practice range. When they were at the Grove, there was 2 guys on the practice range after their round of golf was over, and one of them was Bryson DeChambeau. No wonder the guy's in all these majors when he's playing on the PGA stuff. So there's just no motivation to do it, George, and it scares me when you give a kid and you start recognizing him at, like Billy said, 7th and 8th grade. Like, come on now. I mean, it's going to give him no motivation to do. Like, I've already got my scholarship, so I don't know, man. It's crazy times, and we talk about it every day.
Billy, we done?
Yep.
Okay. After the break, we'll go to Knoxville and talk with Tony Basilio. That is never dull. We'll check in with him next on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, Their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At Wilson Bank & Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank & Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds start a 6-game series in Jacksonville. Pre-game at 5:50.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, this just in. When I have Tony Basilio come on from Knoxville, I try really hard to think about some issues that are going on in the college game that he would have an interesting perspective on. And so I'm fixated on one that I'm going to bring up right off the bat. Let's say hello to Tony. Oh, looky there.
Love
Very
it.
nice.
Nashville Soccer Club.
Yes.
How about
Tony will be in our fair city soon.
Are you coming, Kelly, to our outing at the Nashville Soccer Club? Go see some Mukhtar and come see some kickball with me? Come on, brother.
that would be a no, Tony.
Surprising. You're so well-rounded. Such a renaissance
At least I'm honest.
man.
At least I'm upfront and honest with you. I don't beat around the bush.
Well, at least I'm honest, too.
Yeah. Okay, so you want me to hit you with this issue that I am really intrigued about?
Favorite thing, George, I sat through your last segment, and then all of a sudden when issues come up, it's time to turn to Tony like I have issues. But go ahead.
No, it's not
I
that you have. It's not that you have issues. This is an issue that I think has been underplayed so far because it got out on Friday. The fact that the University of Wisconsin is now suing the University of Miami. And I think it got lost in the shuffle of the weekend.
Yep.
How about you? What do you think?
I haven't brought it up yet on my show, and it's a really, 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 really great point. It's landmark. It's the first of its kind. These coaches generally have been master tamperers. Miami, if you'll remember, they're the first team that kind of was linked with Nico back in the winter. I think Miami's been a massive tamperer with the money they've thrown around down there. It hasn't led to results on the field. George, what I think is really interesting about what you're saying is if the door is open here and if damages are proven, what does this do to recruiting people off rosters? How much texting is going to stop? How much of a paper trail is going to stop? Because up until now, it's been Katie bar the door and anything goes. So if they're successful here in landing a punch against Miami for tampering, this could change things.
Well, it really could. We all know that virtually every school that's out there that's worth a hoot has some other school that they think has tampered with somebody from their roster. And so I guess I'm curious as to why Wisconsin suddenly was the one who said, screw this, we're going to make them pay for this.
Well, Bielema looks like a miserable SOB. Who would want to go play there? I mean, think about it. Who would want to go play there?
Except that he's at Illinois.
I'm sorry, he's at Illinois. Who am I? Oh, the guy from Cincinnati. Thank you, George.
Fickle.
It all runs together for me.
Sickle, it's Luke Fickle.
Luke Fickle is miserable. Bielema was miserable. Wisconsin is miserable. How's that for covering for myself? But truly, if you gave me the choice between living in Miami, South Beach, playing football in virtual anonymity, which is what you're doing in the city of Miami, and South Florida, you play for the Hurricanes right now. You're in virtual anonymity. I don't know that you're totally anonymous, but you're virtually anonymous. But you're doing it in nice weather. Whereas in Wisconsin, you are a big wheel in a small town, but you're playing for a mid-Big Ten team. I can think of much worse things to do than play some football in South Florida. And, George, to your point, all these people tamper. Everybody tampers, George. My favorite thing is when a kid goes into the transfer portal with a do not disturb label, and then they'll visit someplace like 24 hours later, or they'll commit somewhere. Like Billy was talking about that high school kid that's going to leave the mid-state and go back down to Texas. Here's the thing. For some reason, from the beginning of time, we've been moving high school kids around, giving parents jobs. I'm not saying that's what's going on there, but for some reason, I would have thought that once NIL happened, that a lot of the shine off the whole, we're going to kind of quote unquote cheat, a lot of the shine would have gone away from that. But George, it's only exacerbated it. I mean, how much money do you think changes hands behind the scenes when a five-star guy moves from one program to another? In other words, the intermediary to the family, does that person get paid? Because you have to work around the edges. Now, maybe Miami was sloppy with it. Maybe Miami, maybe they've got some kind of communication from Miami and they have them dead to rights. But the way this stuff is done is just, it's incredible. I mean, Will Heflin told me today, who's got a great future in the business. He said, imagine if you had some medical deal and you were, like in a coma or whatever, 2019 till now. Try explaining college sports to somebody. Seriously. No, seriously. Try explaining college sports to somebody right now. Think about that. It's crazy.
He's right. God, I had not thought of it that way. So whoever the judge is that has to hear this case, what do you think what do you think will be the basis of their decision making in that case?
I mean, do you have a paper trail? if you have a paper trail, here's my problem with tampering, though. Tampering means there's a code that everybody's agreed to comport themselves under, doesn't it? For me to tamper, don't we have to have a collective bargaining agreement? Like in the NFL, they have a legal tampering period, don't they? Isn't that right? They have what they call a legal tampering period where you can kind of talk to people in the spring, or one of those sports does. They all run together for me. But that's a thing in professional sports. What is a transfer window if it's not a legal tampering period in major college football? I guess the question would be, did you contact him during the fall? Did you contact him during the season? And the answer is yes, you did. You're talking to people off people's rosters. Because if I don't do it, guess what? The guy that I'm competing with is doing it, and I will get fired. If I don't have enough football players, I will get fired. That's how this ends.
Well, the best one I hear about is the player who has a really good game against X school.
Mm-hmm.
And X school, by the middle of the fourth quarter, has gotten some of their roster together and said, look, when we go out and shake hands, you make clear to this player that we are interested.
I'm telling you right now,
it goes on all the time.
My man Tony Vitello is a master of that. Tennessee's played people in the past, and the next year they show up on his roster. Forget about it, as we like to say in Italian.
Yes.
I mean,
Chase
he's going to
Dolander.
show up on my roster. I'm here to, they just got a couple kids off of a MAC team that they played a couple years ago, including a kid that pitched in here a couple years ago. And Tony loved the way those kids competed. A Chase Dolander, before he showed up in Knoxville, they played Georgia Southern the year before that. Hey, if in that sport, if I'm using midweek games. I'm using midweek games in that sport when I'm at Tennessee's level, at Vanderbilt's level, at LSU's level. I'm bringing guys into my building that have kids on their team that I have an eye on. I'm going to get a look at them up close against my team. I'm being serious now, guys. That is that sport.
Yeah. So last thing on my end, and then I'll turn it over to Kelly. Chase Burns makes his major league debut tonight in Cincinnati. Reds and Yankees. Is that a big story in Knoxville?
It's a great story in Knoxville. It is. Yeah. I've gone out of my way on the show twice this week, and then I wrote it in the blog today over at tclub.team. I'm thrilled for him. And I think all Tennessee fans, despite how that thing ended, should be rooting for that kid. Look, from their 2022 super team, George, they had that almost went pillar to post #1 in America and got beat by Notre Dame, one of the great upsets in the modern era in that sport. That'll be 8 major league players so far off one college baseball team. And there's another 4 that are currently in minor league baseball that have a shot to get there. Now, Billy can tell me, because he can speak to this, but if you're talking about 12 and your travel roster is 27, you're talking about half of your travel roster making a major league team or playing. I don't care if you get a cup of coffee in Major League Baseball. That's impressive. I mean, Billy, you can speak to that. What is a number? Is 8 a significant number? And what would a significant number be off one roster?
Yeah, I mean, 12 is ridiculous, but 8 is definitely, a really pretty good number. And thinking about Tennessee is Gilbert is getting close. Christian Moore is with the Angels right now. You heard about Chase Burns, Dolander. Is Dolander already been called up?
Colorado.
Yeah, he's been called up.
Yeah.
Drew Beam is still waiting. There's at least 3 guys with Gilbert, Dolander, and there's one more that have excellent chances of getting there.
Yeah. No, I mean, 8's a solid number. 12 is a ridiculous number.
Yeah. So that's what they're looking at.
So
we're cheering for him.
So Tony, Kelly has just gone through a wedding at his home. His daughter got married over the weekend. So you got to cut him some slack on what level of sharp, focused.
Hey, I'll say this for Kelly. That is some traumatic stuff, Kel.
Whew.
makes
Traumatic.
you feel a million years old when you go through something like that, doesn't it?
It's my second one, man. I don't know what it
God
was. I've
bless
told
you.
everybody out. They're tired of hearing this, I know, but like it was tough on me the other day, man. My
Oh,
second daughter, they're in Colorado right now, but it
oh,
was tough, man. I can't believe you just never know what kind of emotions you're going to go through, but
mm.
it was tough the other day.
Tell him
Did you
what your
cry?
son. Tell him
Yeah.
what your son said.
Well, he didn't say it. I could just tell by the look on his face. You know, I took my daughter down the aisle. I gave her to Will. You know, I said her mother and I, and then I sat down and I'm sitting there crying for about 30 or 40 seconds. And I look up and I don't know if my son was looking at me, but he was looking my way and he was just shaking his head. And I can just imagine what's going through his head. And I told them guys yesterday, he had that look on his face. It's like, Dad, I don't know what has happened to you, but your manhood is gone.
No way, dude. No, a man that cries like that's got my vote, brother.
I don't know, man, but yeah, I don't know. So George,
thing.
tell me, let's move on because I'm tired of talking about that. I'm gonna get sad
Well,
again.
no,
I'm gonna get watery.
Do you like your new son-in-law? What do you think of him?
Oh, he's
not
awesome.
listening right now. He's not listening. We can go and rip him.
Oh, yeah, they're in Colorado. Yeah, no, he's not listening. That's for sure. Although my daughter did text me today, George, and said Jack was tearing you up yesterday. Jack Gold.
What?
You remember the guy that?
Sure.
The guy that that texted in. Yeah, he's like, I heard the speech and it was an 8 of 10. I'm like, I can't believe I got an 8 of 10. I should have been a 10 of 10. You know?
Hey guys, where's she registered? I'd like to get her a little something, even though I wasn't invited to the wedding. No,
well, none of y'all were invited to the wedding. I don't like y'all like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's that. Okay, well, there is that.
Which is good because I'm on a very tight budget.
You work in radio.
So let's move on. Hey, so George, what was the phrase yesterday of the Wisconsin? Is it tortious interference?
Tortious interference.
Tortious interference. And here's what I got to ask you, Tony. This is a landmark deal right here with the law and with everything's going on, and with all these schools and all these athletic organizations having to put up $20.5 million in the big schools for the NIL stuff. If they start getting all this litigation going on, where's the money going to come from like if they start getting tampering from everybody? Like, where's all this money? Like it seems like there's going to be so much money in litigation if this stuff keeps going, that where are they going to get the money from?
Kelly, it's one more reason to sit down with the players, let them have a union, have defined rules, and cut all this nonsense out. But to be honest with you, I was looking at something that Front Porch Sports broke today, and that's that South Carolina is the latest among the power schools to but to assess every student on that campus, several thousand students, a $300 activity fee, not to keep up a bowling alley that the kids can bowl in, or to get new ping pong balls when you're playing ping pong, or keep up the pool table in the student union. No. It goes right to the South Carolina's athletic department. I mean, these people are the greediest. These are the greediest people alive. I mean, just go ahead and print money. Why don't we just go ahead and grow it on trees? It's ridiculous.
Well, every school is going to start doing that. It's just like what UT did with upping the price. I mean, it's going to start happening all over the country. And I told y'all this before. The consumer is the one in the end that pays for it.
Well, here's the thing, Kelly. A lot of the students that go to these schools, it's hard for us to understand this. They're not really interested in athletics. Right. Some people are actually there to learn, and kind of get a degree. And a lot of people, it's hard for us to understand this, but they're not sports minded. What about those parents? Oh, $300 so you can go pay your athletes? I mean, huh? Like what? Think about that. I mean, that would run all over me. Now, of course, I'm sports minded. I wouldn't mind that. I'd be like, let's write him a check for $5, But $300 for what? I mean, what do I get out of that?
That's what's going to start happening. Hey, did you hear the rant from the Coastal Carolina coach in the baseball deal? What did you think? Give me what you thought. What do you
Well,
think? Because
I
we had
call
a
that.
guy on here we had a guy on here the other day, Jared Diamond, who is a writer for the Wall Street Journal. Is that what
Journal.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wall Street Journal in baseball, and he was talking about how he watched a little bit of it, but he's like, I can't watch the umpires because it's so much worse than Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball is really good. That you watch those guys and they're really good,
Yeah.
but like it seems like you can't talk to umpires anymore. They're getting so fragile and they're getting so thin skinned. Like, what did you think of his rant?
I call that guy Angel Compost. And Angel Compost was a horrible major league umpire.
Yeah.
He's been a guy with an itchy trigger finger for a while. He threw a guy out of Campanella was the guy's name. Great former Clemson pitcher or player rather. Threw him out of a regional involving Tennessee a couple years ago. It benefited Tennessee, but for no reason at all. He threw here a couple years ago. Liberty played in a regional. He threw their manager and one of their other manager and maybe a pitcher out, or the pitching coach and a manager, totally out of control. Why you would let that guy behind home plate? I'll tell you what they've done with Major League, with college baseball guys. I can't stand replay in sports. Like, if you made me czar, I would go back and we would have no replay. I think it's ridiculous that we have replay. Just make a call and let's get the game on. But I'm to the point now with Major League Baseball or college baseball. Not only do I want robotic umpires, I want like R2D2 or C3PO back there. I mean, let's just make it official. Let's put a real robot back there. I mean, this is ridiculous, guys.
So this is kind of my question of the week, and I asked Willie Donick this yesterday, but I want to know if this could affect college sports like it's going to with professional sports. We saw it the other night with Tyrese, and I'm going to Tyrese Halliburton. He had a calf injury, and then he plays. And you know what? I'm going to say that I'm going to play too. If you're asking all these guys to play, but here's where I'm going to ask you. Everything is boiling down to money. And even though you're in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, or you're in a national championship game and you got a young man that's injured, but you're paying him a lot of money, and you know that if he has a calf injury or if he has some kind of other injury, it's going to make it worse, and he's probably going to miss the next season. What do you do with that, Tony? Do you let him play, or do you set him out? And that's what's going to happen in college. I mean, you're paying a guy $1 million a year. Can that start showing up and them just saying, hey, you're not playing?
When Ray Mears lived here, I was riding around with him one day, late great Ray Mears, who took a real interest in me early in my radio career. And we were riding around West Knoxville. He was telling me one day about when Bernard King got hurt. He said, you know, they always said about me that I never won an NCAA tournament game. And back then, it was so hard to get to the tournament back then. It was a totally different animal. And so a guy like him today would collect NCAA tournament wins. But back then, when only 16 teams made it, you know, it was very difficult to get there. And it was exceedingly hard to win a game. Well, anyway, King had a wrist injury, thumb, wrist type injury. And I said, Coach, if you had to do it all over again, would you just suit him up? He said, absolutely not. He said, my job is to protect young people. Always was my job to protect young people. And Kelly, I would like to think that if somebody has an extraordinary talent like a Tyrese Halliburton or somebody like that, I would hope they would err on the side of protecting them. The question becomes, what happens if a kid tells you, hey, I want to go out with my friends, with my teammates, with my brothers or my sisters in a women's sport, and I want to compete for the national championship tonight. We're in a final game. What do you tell that kid?
I don't
what
know.
do you and then what happens if that kid rolls up his Achilles on your watch and he's out for 18 months? Here's the thing about Halliburton, and you make a great point. Halliburton's gotten his money. He's gotten paid. But a kid in college, you have an injury like that, you may never be the same. I mean, that's how science is. We don't know. Some people come back from them and some people don't, that type of injury.
Tony, we had a commenter bring up the fact that Brent said a year ago today, the Vols won the trophy, won the national championship.
Yep.
How often do you still think about that? And does it still, a lot of times national championships, you almost don't forget that it happened, but you're like,
Right.
You think about it, you're like, man, that actually happened. What do you remember most about Tennessee winning the national title?
I just remember the way a sport I didn't know existed lifted up our entire community. The night Tennessee won it, we did one of our sponsors, Calhoun's. They have a concept called Smoky Mountain Brewery. There had to have been 300 people jammed into their sports bar concept, and we were just going crazy. And then the parade here, that they estimate 50,000 people. Did you guys see some of the pictures that came out from that? Tony Vitello told me that when they told him they were going to do something downtown, he said, well, my gosh, that's going to be, there won't be anybody there, and I hope people show up. Guys, it is 100 degrees out here today. I'm talking smoking hot, okay? It was so hot that day, and you could not see downtown Knoxville for baseball. For baseball, guys, a sport we didn't know existed. You guys knew it existed. We didn't know it existed, but it was really, really a magical thing. And I was talking to a young kid today who was like 13 years old on my show. And we all know this. When you're young and you see a team win a championship, you go, oh, they're going to do that again. Next 5 years, we'll win 3 of them. But when you're my age, you know this. When you win one, you better savor it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a Philadelphia sports fan, you really better savor it. Because my Sixers, they haven't won one since '83, and they're going backwards. I mean, they're going backwards. So it was a great time.
I got to ask this. This is an unusual request.
All right.
I had no idea that you and Ray Mears were close. Coach Mears and I were very close.
Love him.
And it was through Mark Griffin. Can you hold? Let me go to a commercial break. And I've got a great Ray Mears story that you will love.
Sure. Can't wait, man.
Okay. We'll come back with more and a really good Ray Mears story on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
I told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back. I asked Tony Basilio to hang with me for a little bit of a last segment. I didn't know we were going to get the free guitar playing out of it. But Tony revealed a few minutes ago a friendship with the late, great University of Tennessee basketball coach Ray Mears. For a younger audience, Ray Mears is the father of University of Tennessee basketball from the 60s and the 70s. If you go back to the recruitment of Ernie Grunfeld and Bernard King, that was the Ray Mears era. Okay, you ready for this?
Hit it.
So back in the early 80s, let's say around 1984, 85, I go bebopping over to Magoogan Center, and I go up to Coach Newton's office, and lo and behold, there's Ray Mears in his office. So he invites me in, and he tells Ray Mears, he goes, here's one of the kids that used to throw oranges at you, which absolutely was not true. But Ray Mears, and he did it on purpose, would try to piss off fans on the road. And of course, at Vanderbilt, he was famous for this walk around the court. Well, when C.M. Newton was at Alabama, apparently Ray Mears would park his butt on Alabama's bench about an hour before game time. And this did not sit real well with C.M. Newton, who decided to retaliate. I learned this over lunch at Sweats an hour later. When the two teams play again in Knoxville, CM decides that he's going to get even, and he is going to sit in Ray Mears' director's chair at on the bench while both teams are warming up. Mears sends a manager out to get Coach Newton the hell out of there. The manager says, Coach Mears has asked me to tell you to leave the premises, and CM apparently told the manager, if Ray doesn't like where I'm sitting, Ray can come out here and tell me himself.
Yes.
Okay. So at this point at lunch, Mears, and you know how he was, he could get real loud.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, Newton, I knew there was something I liked about you.
I would love to take me, you, and everybody involved and transport us back into the 70s when college basketball was like college basketball. George?
Absolutely, because it was incredible.
Now it's like hybrid professional basketball, but back then, buddy, they were playing for keeps. The coaches were out there. They weren't making big money. They were playing for keeps. Everybody was playing for keeps. There was a bunch of older people on the floor. It was mostly veteran players. These guys it's a very physical style of play. I had somebody that played back in the 60s / early 70s tell me that some of these SEC gyms, George, when they were at the foul line, they used to light up pennies with like a Bic lighter. And
right.
They had like toms, like that you hold, and they would flip the pennies at the players and said, "You try to make foul shots, and somebody's flipping hot pennies at you." That is just think about that, Kelly. That's the kind of stuff that would go on because these games weren't televised.
Right.
And so, Mears told me about the Vanderbilt experience. He said, my whole goal was always to get those fans thinking about something other than my players. If I could get the attention on me, that's what I did. One of my great regrets that I always thought about Coach Mears was I wish some of the drugs that were invented for depression would have been invented sooner, because he would have been perfect in the ESPN.
Oh my God.
Going through the 80s, from the late 70s into the early 80s. And he'd been right in his sweet spot there. He'd have been in his early 60s. He could have coached another 10 years. And there's no telling what he would have accomplished here.
So, Tony, this would have been, I think, summer of either 88 or 89. I'm doing a Sunday night show from the old box seat in Green Hills. What is now, I don't know if it was the smaller box seat back then. So Ray Mears is going to be my guest for 2 hours, and the place is packed. I mean, people want to hear him. The interview's gone great, but nothing particularly controversial. About 45 minutes in, I said, Coach Mears, let's talk about your battles with Adolph Rupp. I said you were 14-14 against him. You had more success against him than any coach on the Division I level. And so he starts giving me a pretty normal answer, nothing that indicates what's coming. And all of a sudden there's this long pause. And in front of everybody, he goes real loud. He goes, "Kentucky, those bastards." And I will never forget, I said, well, you don't hear that on live radio very often.
Well, that was the
what
thing
a
about
beauty.
him. Oh, he was, being around him and just kind of as a young kid, I knew and I respected him so much. You could see the vision. You could feel what a visionary you were around when you were around him. Because, man, when he got here, he had to literally fight and scratch and claw for it's a football school. All these schools were football schools. And those old basketball guys all understand that. It isn't like today, where they walk in on the red carpet and they pay you millions and millions of dollars. These guys were doing everything back then. You had to roll your sleeves up and really go get it back then. But Ramirez was truly, and I mean truly, one of a kind. I used to go down to his, he had something called the Orange Room at his house down on Tellico Village when he retired. You'd walk through that place and it was literally like being in a Hall of Fame. I mean, there's one thing over here, something over there, something from Bobby Knight over there, something from Bud Wilkinson over there. There's a hand signed letter by this guy. But he told me, he said, I thought the world of the Baron. He said, I thought the world of him. I thought the world of Adolph Rupp. So, and I think, those guys, he did not like Kentucky, though.
No,
question.
He certainly let me know that. Thanks for sticking around. I hope
Thank you guys.
The humor was worth it.
Thank you guys.
Hey, whoa,
See you,
I
brother.
forgot. Where do people pick you up? Where do they hear you?
Oh, yeah, thanks. tclub.team is where you can find me. We only had a 3,000 word blog in mid-June today. And then for some reason, I did an extra hour on my overtime deal today. I'm only supposed to do 2 hours, but I went for a third. And I don't know, George, it's either really hot outside, I have nothing better to do, I need to get a life, or all the above.
All of the above is the answer.
All of the
Talk
above
to you.
is what we're
Kelly,
saying.
Hey, Cal, congratulations, man, your daughter. It's awesome.
Appreciate you. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Thank you.
He is the great Tony Basilio joining us from Knoxville. When we come back, we'll have Stat of the Day, and then Billy Derrick catches up with the guy that is as wired to the LSU community in athletics as anybody, Matt Moscona. It's an interview you'll want to hear next on 94.9 The Fan.
Looking for your favorite sports?
How about sports? You follow sports?
We probably have it. Just log on to the Information Superhighway. Oh, they don't call it that anymore?
To start, press any key. Where's the any key?
Head to thegamenashville.com.
The password. We're in.
You'll find what time your game starts and what station it's on.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
That's what's up. Your sports live here.
What an age we live in.
On the Game Nashville Sports Network. Listen on the air.
So don't tell me to chill out.
On the web at thegamenashville.com.
This team has strategically put themselves back in the mix.
Watch us on YouTube or download the Game Nashville app.
You have to make those plays.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Big Joe here from my good friends over at Busy Bee. It is June, it's hot, and so are the deals. Enter to win a free 3-day beach getaway with purchase of any new AC unit. Also, I'm a member of the Beehive Club, and I'd love for you to be one as well. $99, 2 years for the price of 1 year. Buy this year and get next year's free.
Busy Bee, yeah, Busy Bee. Call 775-7833.
Ponce Law is the only personal injury law firm with the Crash Cam Network. Powered by Roadproof, capturing accident footage on highways across Middle Tennessee. Injured in an accident? Call Ponce Law. We offer a no-fee guarantee, and for over 30 years, we've been helping injured people just like you. We've been voted best law firm multiple times. I'm Michael Ponce, and we want to hear your story. Call us today at 615-244-4321. Ponce Law, justice for all.
This is the energy of the Acura Integra. The energy of speed. With available Type S 320 horsepower VTEC turbo engine. And the energy of control. With available 6-speed manual transmission. The Acura Integra. This is the energy of innovation. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. GaryForceAcura.com.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Talking with Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge. Talk a little LSU baseball, but first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, another NBA question. Chet Holmgren had the most blocks in an NBA Finals Game 7 with 5. But who has the most blocks in a finals game ever?
Okay, let's think about that for a minute, Kelly, because the obvious first thing you'd throw out there would be Bill Russell. Not only because he was great at blocking shots, but every time you turned around, when he was a Celtic, they were in the NBA Finals. So that's an obvious, but it may not be the only one. Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt, Shaq,
Daryl Dawkins. You think it's one of those that we just threw out there?
I don't know. Hakeem.
Hakeem was a great shot blocker in college. Didn't do as much of it on the pro level. I don't know why.
The first couple is the first two that you said, the older guys, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. I would think it'd be one of those guys, but it's probably somebody somebody younger.
I don't think it is. Let's just see what the answer is.
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard.
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, good Lord. We could have been here till midnight. I wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah, seriously.
He was not on my radar.
No, not at all.
Forgot about him.
Way to go, Billy. Great question. No, it's not yours,
Appreciate
but
it.
still.
Give it up for Ty.
Yeah.
Whatever, Ty.
Great question.
We're playing the street.
Wow. Kelly. Certainly understanding, trying to raise the youth of America, and
Yeah, sometimes they need to get bullied a little bit.
And you think you're doing that? Okay, I like that.
I'm into it.
Okay, Billy, tell us why we're going to Baton Rouge.
Well, I thought it'd be cool to get an LSU perspective on the national title. Obviously, they won it a couple of years ago. And kind of some of the differences between the team with Paul Skeens and Tommy White and all that talent compared to this team who, wasn't as talented. They might have been deeper, maybe not the top end talent, but yeah, good talk with Matt. And here is that interview. I want to start here. I was thinking about this after the win over Arkansas, the first win there to. Well, actually, no. Let's go back to the second win, the win that eliminated the Razorbacks. And I thought about Arkansas fans and the pain that they felt immediately, and it's hard not to. But for LSU fans, you won the game, right? You're excited, you're fired up. Was there any ounce in your body and other LSU fans' bodies that may have felt bad for Arkansas fans?
For Arkansas fans, no, not an ounce, okay. Zero. I think there's a human element where you consider, man, like Vahiva Aloy is an amazing player, and a little bit of a brain fart there, not turning 2, which would have ended the game. We could talk about Charles Davelin, the left fielder, who's a fantastic player. Had some big swings for Arkansas in this College World Series this season, and he just misjudged the ball and left and took it off his shoulder. I mean, like, those are things those young people are going to live with forever, and there's a human element that stinks, but no, you don't have any sympathy for another fan base. You want to beat them. You want your season to continue and their season to end. I don't care about Arkansas fans. I've spent enough miserable sporting events in both Little Rock and Fayetteville. I had no love lost for Arkansas fans. Forget those people. Whatever. Kick rocks, losers.
I just had to ask because they've been through so much pain. You guys just won your 8th national title. Arkansas, doesn't have one, and they've been there 12 times. But for you guys to get the 8th, number 8, how does that feel, and how special is this one? Considering, you have won 8, and there is some special aspects of all 8 national titles.
The interesting thing is, so I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. I'm almost 43 years old. I'm old enough to have lived and remembered all of them. And they're all different in their own way. And I don't expect fan bases outside of LSU to understand this, but in 91, when they won the first one, that was Skip Urban's first. And as great a coach as Skip was, winning 5 titles in 10 years, a lot of times people forget he lost his first 4 times in Omaha. Didn't finally break through until his 5th time. 93 was amazing. Brett Laxton as a freshman threw a complete game, no-hitter in the championship game with a record 16 strikeouts at the time. 96 was the Warren Morris walk-off, which was an incredible, improbable story. 97, that was the height of gorilla ball, record 188 home runs. 2000 was Skip's last and probably LSU's most talented team. Then you went through this long drought, and Paul Maneri kicked the door in 09. Then you went through a 14-year drought, and Jay finally won it. You had the top-tier talent with Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens. And to be back 2 years later, I mean, this team is probably deeper than that 2023 team. Maybe not the star power of Cruz and Skeens, but they battled through a lot of adversity. I think that the hallmark of this LSU team is that they never really seemed fazed when things went badly. Even look at the championship game. Jacob Morrison's on the mound. Coastal breaks through for an early run to go up 1-0, and immediately in the next half inning, LSU got that run back. And that was kind of the hallmark of this team throughout the season. That game was a microcosm of this team's season, and they were a fun group to watch, and they were carried by 2 elite pitchers that carried them all the way to and through the postseason.
Yeah, and that reminds me for Vanderbilt fans here in Nashville, the Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter team, they just didn't have enough hitting. For LSU, talk about the pitching with Ianson and Anderson, and especially Shores, who was just a monster there in Omaha. The hitting was very timely as well. I mean, what about the LSU bats were able to get them past the hump, over the hump, because you had to have those timely hits in really every single one of the timely hits, especially in those Arkansas games.
It's so interesting because this team had the ability to hit 1 through 9, but they didn't always hit 1 through 9. And what was interesting is at times when guys you were counting on or thought you'd count on didn't come through, it was someone else in the order. Look at the championship game there against Coastal. In the 1-1 ball game, well, I guess Ethan Fry had the 2-out double to tie it, and then there was Chris Stanfield with the 2 RBI single to put LSU up 3-1. The lineup flipped over, and Derek Curiel came up with a 2 RBI single to make it 5-1. So you had different spots of production throughout the lineup. This wasn't the most heavy hitting, like power oriented team LSU had, but they had guys that could handle the bat, some veteran guys who were clutch. And it's cliche, but the whole slow the heartbeat, in the clutch moments, and this team was able to do it. The majority of their runs in Omaha came with 2 outs. Their ability to rally with 2 outs, to hit with 2 strikes was kind of a hallmark of this team offensively. I don't know how many of these guys are going to go on to play Major League Baseball. I think Curiel's probably a safe bet. Jake Brown will be there one day. They've got other options of guys who could break through. Jared Jones, Ethan Fry, Stephen Milam, Danny Dickinson. Those all could be guys that play Major League Baseball. But I think we'll look back at this team, and it won't be a team littered with guys that play in the bigs, but it's going to be a team which are really good college baseball players that could handle the bat and were timely.
Going back to some of the complaints from Vandy fans this season was that Tim Corbin didn't shuffle the lineup enough, that there were some veterans that he relied on that just didn't come through in the clutch. Well, Jay Johnson at LSU made a ton of lineup shuffles really all season and some big decisions. You mentioned Jake Brown there with the big hit. I mean, what can you say about Jay Johnson, his really clutch decision making? Because if some of those decisions aren't made by Johnson in those tight game moments, maybe LSU loses to Arkansas. Maybe LSU doesn't take down Coastal. So that to me was a huge part of this, Jay Johnson and his coaching and just being able to think on the fly. Obviously, he's got the talent to do it, but you got to have the coaching as well.
Well, the big part is you got to have the players. I think Jay would tell you that as well. It helps when you have one of, if not the most talented roster in the country, and LSU was there. So I would agree that over the course of a game, there's usually maybe 1 or 2 decisions that a coach is going to make that's really going to influence the outcome. Like I'll give you an example of how it didn't work for Coastal. Go to that championship game, and I think the Kevin Schnall ejection, as much as it's been debated, there was one moment in the game where I thought it mattered. And with 2 outs in the 4th inning, LSU up 3-1, runners on 2nd and 3rd, the lineup flipping over to Derek Curiel, who's already seen Jacob Morrison twice. The fact that they let Morrison pitch to Curiel with the game in the balance was stunning to me. That was a moment where Coastal, I think the interim coach there probably froze up and choked in that situation. Jake Brown, the pinch hit against Arkansas was massive. Jay Johnson pushed the right button in that moment. But I think I would look to, honestly, I would look to Dave Van Horn and say, how in the world do you not know that Jake Brown's going to hit against a righty right there? I mean, they walked in that situation Pearson, the lefty, to get to Brown, to get to Stanfield, who's a righty. But you have to know in that situation, if you're Dave Van Horn, that Jake Brown is going to come in against a right-handed hitter, a right-handed pitcher right there. He's just feasted on right-handed pitching. So I think it was evident in some moments in this College World Series where Jay Johnson pushed the right buttons and his counterparts didn't.
I want to ask you about this one compared to the national title a couple of years ago. That one just felt so. I don't know what obviously you had Skeens. You had so much talent. You had the unicorns there with Skeens and Cruz. This year, how would you describe this team as it relates to that team? Because not that there wasn't as much buzz, maybe there wasn't because of the talent, but there's still a ton of talent on this team. How do you sort of characterize this team as comparatively to the one 2 years ago?
Yeah, that team had obviously the star power with the guys that went 1 and 2 in the draft. I think this team was deeper, though. And there was some other names that look. Tommy White was obviously a difference-making player on that team. But it was also strange because you had some just good veteran college baseball players that weren't going to be pros. Guys like Gavin Dugas and Cade Veloso were integral parts of that team a couple of years ago. But remember also, for all the attention Skeens got, LSU spent the bulk of that season trying to find a number 2 and 3. Now, Ty Floyd and Thatcher Hurd were immense talents, but they were inconsistent that year. After Skeens, you really didn't have a consistent rotation after him. Only in Omaha did Floyd and Hurd save their best literally for last and ended up helping LSU pitch through the losers bracket to win a national championship. And you had outlier performances in the losers bracket with 6-inning outings from Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring, who are names most baseball fans won't remember, but LSU fans will forever because in elimination games, they stepped up massively. But that's really the big difference. I mean, this team, you had immense depth on the pitching staff, and you had depth in the – I mean, just talking about Jake Brown. I mean, Jake Brown is a future big leaguer. I mean, he's 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a 5-tool guy, the best athlete on the team, hits for power to all fields, has a hose for an arm. and he was in a platoon situation in right field. You know, I mean, like that speaks to the depth that this team had. Ashton Larson was a starter for LSU a year ago by the second half of the season. I don't know that Ashton Larson got 50 at bats this year. They brought in Chris Stanfield from Auburn, and Derek Curiel emerged and was your everyday left fielder. So this was just a team that was incredibly deep. And when somebody didn't have a great day, someone else did because they were that deep and talented.
6 straight national titles for the SEC. I like to tell people it should be 7 because I thought Vanderbilt had a really good chance to repeat in the COVID year, but we'll save that for another day. The only conference in college baseball history to win 6 in a row. SEC is a different animal, but how much do you think that helps, a team like an LSU this year where, you go throughout a season, there were some losses, there were some roller coaster rides, there was probably a point in the season where you didn't think LSU had the guys to win a national title. Every fan base does, but then you win one game and you're like, well, we may have a shot now. This league is insane. And have you ever seen it this good, covering LSU baseball?
I mean, I just think the bar keeps getting raised, and just assume also the addition of Texas and OU this year. Texas won the league. Texas won the league going away. Even losing Jared Spencer, their Friday night ace, and Max Ballou for a chunk of the season, they still won the league going away. The tricky part about winning a national championship, though, is it's a tournament, and so you can be great for 30 games in the SEC play in the regular season or the 56-game marathon, but you got to win a tournament. And so what teams are built to win a tournament? And LSU with Anderson and Ianson, when you have 2 guys at the front like that can keep you in the winner's bracket, you're going to have a great shot to win this tournament because of the way it sets up. The depth of the league is awesome, and I also think it showed in that championship series with Coastal. Coastal completely lost their composure. Even listening to Kevin Schnall after the game talk about their team's mantra of own it with no excuses, he most definitely didn't own it. He made a ton of excuses in that post game. I mean, getting ejected in the first inning for arguing balls and strikes is. I watch a ton of baseball. I watch baseball every day of my life. I love the Yankees. I watch the MLB app every day. Getting run in the first inning for arguing balls and strikes is mind-boggling. When you know the rule, you can't argue balls and strikes. You can't leave the dugout to do it. A great contrast is the night before. In game 1, Jay Johnson, after Daniel Dickinson was hit on the elbow and then was ruled out in game 1 of the championship series, Jay Johnson spoke to it in his postgame. He said, look, the rule is you can't come out of the dugout to argue after a review. And my team needed me to be composed and show poise and leadership. And that's a contrast from a guy who's been there on that stage and a guy on a team who hasn't. Just think about the pitch comm issues that Morrison had early in the game, barking at LSU's third base coach. Coastal lost their composure. They were overwhelmed by 25,000 fans in purple and gold in a game where their season was on the line. And you see the difference is, you see that in the SEC every weekend. So when you've gone through that meat grinder of 30 games and you get to the tournament, none of that phases. It's not just an LSU thing. That's an SEC thing. Like if it's Arkansas or LSU or Vanderbilt or Florida or Tennessee or any of them, you've seen it. You're not going to be moved by that. And Coastal clearly was affected by it.
Well, that's what I've loved about really the last 4 national titles in Omaha. Mississippi State, 30,000 fans. Ole Miss brought about 30,000. Tennessee brought a bunch. Obviously, LSU, every time they go to Omaha, brought so many. I want to go there to close it out. What do you think of the showing from LSU fans in Omaha? And the Rocco's Jello shot record, wasn't broken. Or did that surprise you at all?
No, man. The 68-888, I don't know if that's ever going to go down. There would have to be some real intentional push to do that. But 52,000 Jello shots is still incredible. Now, if they hadn't, remember, if they had another day, who knows what could have happened, right? If it had gone to Monday. So back in 23, they had an extra day, but I don't know that they would have broken it. Look, LSU fans, there's a love affair with this baseball program. I know there's a lot of great fan bases in the SEC, but it is just different at LSU. And it's a lot of circumstances that have been bred over 4 decades, where when Skip Bertman was starting his elevation of the program, it coincided with LSU football amid 6 straight losing seasons, which is mind-boggling to think now, but that was the case in the late 80s and the early 90s. And so LSU fans were able to wrap their arms around this thing that won and wanted a clip nobody had ever seen. And it created a standard and an expectation that's never ceased. And there's just a love affair with the fan base and the program. So it's an incredible expectation that Jay Johnson has embraced and continues to elevate that standard. And the fans are sure enjoying it, man. I'll tell you, there's been 8 of them, but it never gets old, ever.
No.
And people here are expecting, all right, now how do you get number 9 next year? And Jay Johnson embraces that expectation.
He's built a machine in Baton Rouge. Skip Bertman obviously started it, and Jay Johnson is keeping it rolling. Matt, appreciate you taking the time. And all of a sudden, we got 3 weeks till media days. So go ahead, buckle up.
This is, I always say, when LSU baseball can get us to the end of June, it's like manna from sports talk heaven.
Yeah.
Because now, look, you have a week of vacation for the 4th of July, do a week of radio, and then boom, it's SEC
Perfect.
Media Days. Then the New Orleans Saints report for camp. The next week, LSU football reports, and we're in it, man. So this is it was a good June for all of us.
I bet it was. Matt, thanks for the time, man.
My pleasure.
Oh, I hear exactly where he's coming from on that. Okay, here's what we are going to do as we go to the break. We're going to open up the phone lines, and you can certainly take it wherever you want to at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. Here's something I wish one or two of you would sort of give me an answer to. Am I making too much out of this Wisconsin-Miami lawsuit, or is this going to end up being a landmark moment to all of this new world order, as crazy as it all is? Billy, how can they reach you if they want to text something?
Chat room's open on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just chime in to the comment section there just to the right of the screen, or swipe up on Twitter and Facebook. It's pretty easy to do. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, good interview, by the way. Really well done.
Really good.
Love Matt. He's good.
He's terrific. Okay, we're looking for your phone calls, your participation when we come back on 94.9 The Fan.
Are you ready to begin? Trevecca Nazarene University. From calling to becoming.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
I trained my entire life to be the best. I was one of the fastest women in the entire country. But woke politics made me swim against a man, sharing the pool and the locker room. That's not just dangerous, it's degrading. Thank God for Marsha Blackburn. No one fights harder to protect us. Marsha Blackburn will always stand for strong women, because she's one of us.
I'm Marsha Blackburn, and I approve this message.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
God for Marsha Blackburn. No one fights harder to protect us. Marsha Blackburn will always stand for strong women because she's one of us.
I'm Marsha Blackburn, and I approve this message.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds start a 6-game series in Jacksonville. Pre-game at 5:50.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
That is some iconic music right there as we welcome all of you back. We'll go to the phones here in just a second. I will be honest, you all are a little slow to the phones at the moment. I get it. It's the middle of summer and that kind of thing happens. But I beg of you to call and call now at 615-553-0933 because this is the way we keep the whole thing going. During what Matt Moscona called the slow time of the year. I fully get it. Yeah, I fully get it. Although I think we've done better than most. It has not been as slow as, and it starts to feel this way around July the 4th.
I'll say this though, and Matt's right. Anytime, if you're in Baton Rouge radio or in Nashville or Tony in Knoxville or Tuscaloosa or Starkville, any of the Mississippi schools, if your baseball team makes a run and wins the national title, you're done. You talk baseball all the way through that. And right, like Matt said, you've got these next 3 weeks really to, have the dog days, and then boom, you're at media days and you're already talking football. So that helps a lot. I know Tennessee didn't make it to Omaha, Vandy didn't, but I think that was a little bit of a difference this year because usually you've got either Vandy or Tennessee, playing in Omaha, and you're able to continue talking about that.
By the way, when you hear the whole thing about SEC football media days being 3 weeks away, we will be there. We will broadcast our show from there from Monday through Thursday. Okay, need a couple of phone calls. Jump in now or risk me sending Gruff Dog to your home. George up in Boston, Mass. Welcome.
What's going on, guys?
Good. What's going on back there?
Oh, I'm just on the train home. My apologies.
Oh, wow. I love it. Tell us about the train.
Well, they just shut off the AC because it's about 100 degrees in Boston. So bit of a hot situation. But wanted to talk a little Vandy football with you guys.
Okay.
Deservedly so. It seems like Diego Pavia gets a ton of attention whenever anybody brings up Vanderbilt football. But in my opinion, I think this is the most talented team Clark Lee's had since he's been at Vandy. And I think there's a ton of talented players, some of whom could play on Sundays in the future, especially guys like Eli Stowers, Brian Longwell, Langston Patterson, and Brandon Fontenette. And I was just curious as to who you guys see as some other key pieces on this team as we head into the 2025 season.
Well, first of all, I think it's going to get out, and I think it's going to get out this way with a bunch of the schools that all of them on the SEC level have ramped up their NIL spending in football. You may think it's good, you may think it's ridiculous, but whatever the case, I think we're going to learn in Atlanta that it's a fact. And I think on Vandy's end, you're going to learn that they are well over $10 million in NIL spending. I've had friends of mine tell me more like 15 to 18 million. I'm sitting there going, where's it coming from? It's none of my business. But, if money brings talent, then they probably are in a better place than they've been in a while.
Oh, no doubt. And, Eli Stowers, who George mentioned, is their best player. He could be a first-round draft pick, probably the best tight end in the country. Receiver-wise, it's kind of up in the air. That's a position they had to improve. They brought in a few transfers. We'll see how they pan out. But defensively, I'm with George. I think this is going to be a pretty good defense again. Randon Fontenette, who, if you don't remember, he's number 2, just flies all around the field. He's their anchor, and he's coming in on blitzes. He's defending tight ends. He's a really good player on defense. And then obviously Pavia, probably not an NFL player, but a really good college player. And that's where it all starts. But yeah, this is it's a good football team, but we're not used to, Vanderbilt sort of reloading in a way that they're doing, but this is a huge season for them.
It worries me sometimes when, as a quarterback, it's all based on quarterback. It's gotten down like the NFL used to be. It was all about the quarterback, and in college you could get away from it. Now you got to have a really good quarterback in college. And with Diego Pavia saying some of the things, we all know he's confident. You got to be able to do that. You got to be willing to do that. But like sometimes when you write checks with your mouth that you just can't back up, I'm worried about that because Alabama wasn't very good last year, but they came into Nashville and Vanderbilt beat them up that day. And people are going to be ready for Diego Pavia this year. They are not going to overlook Vanderbilt. And it's going to be interesting to see, because I think you're right. I think they are talented. I think every SEC school is talented. But it's just going to be interesting to see how they can maintain that and if they can get over that hump. Because, hey, he's talking right now, and a lot of times I've seen when you start talking, you put a lot of pressure on yourself that you shouldn't have done if you just kept your mouth shut.
By the way, George says, apologies, guys. The Mass Bay Transit Authority gremlins were victorious. I would tend to believe that.
Credit to him calling in on the bus, though.
Yeah, very impressive. I think the other thing, look, it's like a lot of schools that maybe do not have as much depth as the big powerhouses. You got to get lucky and keep people healthy.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge in sports. If you don't have a lot of depth, you've got to keep your guys healthy. And I've seen situations where guys stay healthy all year, and then other situations, it's a year-on-year deal. It's like a week-on-week thing where you get guys injured, and it's just if you get key guys injured that you don't have true backups that you feel good about as a coaching staff, that can just derail your season. It can derail it fast.
George, let me ask you this: is it more likely Vandy goes 3-7 or 7-5? Or I guess it'd be 3-9. Sorry,
3-9.
I think I'd want to answer the question with, this is a cop-out. Tell me what level of health they're at.
Yeah. Because, it's going to be another thin margin for error season.
Right.
Like, and that's hard when you play with that, like you were talking about, Kelly, when you play with that thin of a margin and a tough schedule. They've got one of the tougher schedules in the league again. That's tough.
Am I right that Vandy talks to the media on the first day?
No, second day. I thought it was.
Is Tennessee first day?
Let's see.
I know I may be.
Oh yeah, no. Vandy is on the first day with Clark Lee. Tennessee's on the second day. I got it mixed up. Sorry.
Here's the reason I'm asking that. I think the teams that are on Thursday run into two things. People are tired. A lot of them have said, screw it, I'm out of here. And the ones on Thursday get shortchanged, in my opinion.
Well, Vandy's on a really good day. You've got Brian Kelly and LSU, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, and Shane Beamer at South Carolina. That's a big-time headline day. Or maybe that's a bad thing, that all the attention's on, going to be on the other three. But
Kevin on line 2. Welcome into 94.9 The Fan.
How's it going?
Good. Hope you're doing well.
I'm good. I got two questions for you. One about college baseball and the other about the NFL. But about college baseball, Coastal Carolina wins 26 games in a row, and then they proceed to lose the biggest two of their season. How do you think? Well, and obviously LSU has some of the best pitching in the country, but do you think that after the loss, like on game one, and then their coach getting tossed in the first, do you think that has how big of a part in their loss in game two does their coach getting tossed in the first have to do?
Well, I'm going to take it a different way, and y'all can agree or disagree. But in these kind of settings, I think there's a freak out factor that starts to creep in. I think Vandy completely died in a freak out factor where they get down 4-0 on that Sunday to Wright State, and their ability to swing at good pitches from that point on was awful. I thought they were in a panic. And I don't doubt that Coastal Carolina went in thinking we're the favorite. We feel like the favorite. We ought to win. Suddenly the first game doesn't go well. They're all sitting there Saturday night, Sunday, going, get off to a good start, get off to a good start. And then all of a sudden he gets tossed, and I suspect there became sort of the tight butthole.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, these kids, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. They're humans. You know, you're playing a road game with 20, like Matt said, 25,000 LSU fans there. That's not easy to do when you're a mid-major like Coastal. But, you know, whether they choked or they got tight in the moment, LSU's won 8, Coastal's won 1. Like, I thought human nature really came into effect there. But Coastal had a heck of a year, man. I mean, it's hard to complain about the season they had, and they'll be back. Schnall's a good coach. He made a mistake there.
Kind of like what happened to Arkansas the other night. Like one thing compounded the other thing, and it just kept kind of snowballing. And I think that's probably what happened with Coastal the other day. And I don't think it helped when their manager got kicked out of the game. That wasn't good. And it seems like even Matt talked about it in your interview. Like he felt like the 25,000 people had an effect. George, you just said that. Like you get into a situation like that, and then you lose the first one, and then like everything gets magnified in that situation. That kind of seems what happened to Coastal the other day.
Kevin, appreciate the call. Let's go to Eric on line 3. Eric, you're on 94.9. Welcome.
Hey, George, I kind of thought it was interesting. A few minutes ago, we're talking about Alabama and Vandy in the game this year. It seems like Alabama, a lot of people are talking some smack about them because I guess the quarterback for Florida State was popping off about them in the first game, talking about the fact that, they don't have Nick Saban anymore here and all this type of stuff, and trying to hype up Florida State, which he's, of course, got every right to do. But Alabama, I guess they've got another game. I don't think they need any more motivation for the first game, but, it's really put a target on the back of whether or not they can back it up or not.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I didn't think they were a very well-coached football team a year ago. I'm talking about Alabama. There were too many gaps where you just sit there and said, this would never happen under Nick Saban. So I think for his own personal well-being, they ought to win in Tallahassee. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Hey, George, two other things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I heard you talking to Tony earlier about the Reds and the Yankees tonight, the picture that was making the debut for the Reds. A little bit nervous tonight, but I didn't realize this, but I forgot about this. But the win last night, I think the Reds have won like the last 4 against the Yankees because they went to New York last year and swept them. And that was one of the things that was so frustrating to me about this team is that they would have games like that where they beat the Yankees, which was probably the best team in the American League, but then they would lose to a lot of those teams they should lose to. I mean, they've got the talent, but they're just a lot of times so inconsistent. I don't know how they're going to do the rest of this series, but of course I was impressed with the way Elliott and Cruz played last night with the triple and then the home run. I mean, he's just such a special ball player. It's just you wish they could get it together kind of more consistently. And the other quick thing I want to talk about, and you guys may have talked about this earlier, I don't know, and there's the whole Tyrese Halliburton thing. It's you kind of feel bad for him and stuff like that. And I'm sure the fans in Indianapolis certainly admired what he said, because he said, I wouldn't change a thing. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it. And I kind of thought it was fun. I don't know if you heard a little bit of this last week before Game 7. There were a few, not a bunch, but I thought I heard a few people out there talk about the fact that they thought Halliburton was kind of just, I'm not going to say necessarily was faking the injury, but they kind of thought that, it was kind of, they thought he was overplaying it, that he really wasn't hurt that bad. And it turned out he really was with the Achilles tendon deal or whatever it was that he had. And there were a few people thought that he was kind of just, like I said, not necessarily faking it, but they thought that he was kind of just, was selling the bad goods. But he just proved the other day he was not. He was actually hurt. He sold all out. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that, guys. It's always good to talk to you guys. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.
When a player knows he's hurt and all of a sudden he decides to go to the post, and knowing full well that he's nowhere near 100%, what are the ramifications? And Kelly, unfortunately, he found him out, the worst possible way.
I got a lot of respect for him though, because you see guys nowadays that if they got something going on with them, if they got a hangnail, they're not playing. And you got to give it to him. He was in some pain with that calf muscle, and he said he was going to play if at all possible. He had round the clock treatment, and it's unfortunate that happened. I saw it when I saw it, man. You can tell. It's just like when the Aaron Rodgers deal came on his first 4 snaps of when he was playing with the Jets. I mean, that thing pops. It's just and the calf causes all that sometimes.
Ugh.
So that's why I keep asking that question. That's why I heard it on, Kendrick Perkins talked about it yesterday. Like, these guys are getting paid so much money. He's going to be out for all next year probably, because it's a year injury. So it's something that you got to think about in today's sports with all the money that's in it.
Shorten the playoffs. The NBA playoffs are way too long.
No, the answer is shorten the regular season.
Or that, but yeah. I mean, you got to do something.
And by the way, the NHL could use a little of that too. But the problem is, the reason it'll never happen, the players won't give up the percentage of salary that those number of games would bring. I know we got to go to the break. I want to ask Kenny the Mailman, Clay, and Tony in Nolensville, all of you hang with me. I'm going to get to all of you when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
No, they don't. Here. You thought you were on your way. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, 4:45 is the time on a hot Tuesday afternoon in Nashville, where it is definitely feeling like summertime. Kenny the mailman, welcome.
Hello, good friends. How are y'all?
We're good.
Listen, talking
you
earlier,
are.
you was talking. Oh, I'm great. You were talking about 60s and 70s basketball, and I'm telling you, I loved every minute of you talking about it. You know, the athletes today are 10 times better, and every game's on TV. But there was a mystique then because you couldn't see it on TV. And my mom and dad were not well off. For Christmas, all I could get was one ticket to the VIT. Do you remember those, George?
Sure I do.
Indian Invitational tournaments.
Yep.
Or if I was lucky, you'd get to see Mississippi State or Dayton or something like that. People, they don't understand. You literally could not get in the gym. When I was 11, my next door neighbor took me to see a Vandy UT game. Super intense. And what was funny, people used to dress up to go to those games. They have no concept. You would see ladies in cocktail dresses and men in sports jacket. Wasn't that true, George?
It was, and I used to sit there and go, why?
Yeah. Well, I was sitting next to a lady. Remember, I was 11. She had on she looked like my Sunday school teacher, had on pearls, just a beautiful demeanor and everything. And UT come out, and she stood up and screeched as loud as she could, "Ray Mears, you are an SOB." And she proceeded to do it about 10 times whenever there was a stoppage in play.
Right.
And I laughed harder each time because I had never heard a woman cuss. You got to remember, I was 11. It was, 1972? Right. And I just could not believe a woman would cuss at someone like that. And it was so people would start throwing things, and I was just laughing and howling. And I went home. I felt so bad because my mother, you got to remember, my mother and father had never been to a ball game in their life. She asked me, how was it? I could not tell her a word about it. They would have never let me go back to that den of iniquity.
What a great phone call.
They never heard that, even as long as they lived, they never heard that their 11-year-old boy heard a Sunday school teacher cuss.
That's hilarious. How those
games were. Yeah. People have no idea. Well, now, people just say anything anywhere. It shocked me more than ever. But people used to dress up to go to games, and you could not get a ticket in Nashville, Tennessee for a big Vandy game. Y'all have more shows like that, George.
Thank you, Kenny.
Bye-bye.
It's a good man, Billy.
The Basilio effect.
Well, I'll say this. There was a time, and of course it was the only game in town where it was a brutally tough ticket. And I mean the December non-conference games, same way. It was shocking now that I look back on it.
I mean, Kelly, you remember it. It's harder for me and fans my age know of the 2012 team, but I always hear that it'll never feel like it did in the 70s, the 80s, and part of the 90s.
Times change, man. That's just part of it. I hate that. Like, athletes nowadays are bigger, stronger, faster. There's no question about that. But those guys back then, when I was growing up and watching those teams play, man, those guys had heart, and they played till it was over, and it was awesome to watch.
And hearing Kenny talk about, the part of the mystique was, they weren't on TV. Not too long ago, there were a lot of football games that weren't on TV. You had to listen on the radio, George, and even, in the, 08, 09, 010, up until that point, I remember having to listen to it on the radio. I almost missed that, but that is what it is.
It's different. Clay, line 5, you are up next.
Hey, boys, how y'all doing?
Hey, Clay. Hope you're doing well.
Kelly, how we doing, Hoss?
I'm good, Hoss. How you doing?
Doing good. George, I'm going to go in a different direction today. I'm going to talk about a team that you love as much as anybody as I know.
Okay.
And that's the Atlanta Braves.
Let's hear it.
First of all, who's a bigger Braves fan, George? You or Frank?
Oh,
I think Frank proves it better because he puts his money out there to buy season tickets.
He's there every other week.
Yeah, I can't quite do that. So Frank might get the nod there.
Okay. The crazy thing about the Braves this year, they sweep the Mets. And I heard everything you were saying yesterday, George, about the Marlins and how they can't draw anybody. And they go down there and lose 2 out of 3. And then they beat the Mets again, last night. So they seem to be playing better against the better teams. And then a lot of times losing to the, lesser teams. So my question to you, George, I'm putting you on the spot. The trading deadline is coming. So if you're the man in charge making that call, are you buying or are you selling?
Well, I need to know exactly where they are, and I'm not trying to give you a cop-out, but if in the next couple of weeks they don't get – right now they're 6 out of the final playoff spot, the wild card, the last – the very last wild card. They are 6 games behind Milwaukee. If they're not within about 4, then I think it's either stand pat or sell. I don't think being the last playoff team is worth sacrificing a bunch of your future.
Yeah, and they've lost one of their best pitchers for a while, right?
Sure looks that way. I mean, only time will tell how long Chris Sale's gone. And look, when they get good pitching, when they get good starting pitching, they are really tough, even though they don't have as much margin for error right now in their everyday lineup because they're not hitting worth a hoot. And we keep hoping that something's going to happen. But, you're halfway through the season now. If it hadn't happened by now, it's probably not going to happen.
I'm going to let y'all get to my boy, Tony.
Clay, have a good one. Let's check in with Tony. Tony, you are the final call, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, George, and it's awful nice of Clay. And Clay and I, we talk about every other night about Vanderbilt and stuff. And speaking of the World Series, guys, the College World Series, obviously, the umpire, in his name, Campos, as I told Clay the other night, he had the little short man umpire syndrome going on. The guy's been demoted from, lost how he lost his job in the major leagues. He's been pushed down to collegiate level. And obviously he wasn't wearing his degree deodorant the other day because he was already hot under the collar in the first inning. And Billy, I meant to send you the pictures. I took still shots, guys. And what it showed to me, what I saw during the game, he called what I call a clock strike on the batter. And the batter was already in the box, engaged with the pitcher, eyeballing him to eyeball, and it was with 12 seconds on the pitch clock. Yet batter has to be in there at 8 seconds. And he was already calling a 0-1 count on that batter with 11 seconds on the pitch clock. And I think that's when the coach come out and told him, you've done that's 3 you've already missed. And that's where the ensuing argument with the balls and strikes started. So the umpire, kudos to LSU. They won the game. They proved their dominance once again. Another feather in the hat for the SEC. But that umpire with that sequence stole from a lot of fans watching on TV across this country, and 20-some thousand there, as they said, 25,000, a good College World Series, because that was all the talk that ended up being. And if y'all were watching it, and I'm sure you were, you could see even though their coach tried to bring them back together and, hey, let's play for us and blah, 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 you could see the team was lifeless. They were lifeless after that, and they just never recovered from seeing two of their coaches being thrown out. And ironically, the coach that took over at first base was, I think, the coach who Vanderbilt fired last year. Isn't that right, Billy?
I think you're right on that. Tyler Shoemaker. I didn't think about that.
That is true. He was the coach that went to first base, and they mentioned it a little bit on the stuff. So, but I just thought that was we were all robbed of a possible good World Series second game anyway. And one last thing I want to touch on here, and I want to get y'all's opinion. Talking about baseball coming here to Nashville, and it seems all this rhetoric seems to always be the same. Nashville's on the list when Larry Smitto had it right there on the verge. There was a push, George, you remember it. We were right there on the cusp of it being Nashville's always right there on the cusp, or always the next one. It always seems to be the same rhetoric time after time about Major League Baseball coming to Nashville. I want to get y'all's opinion, dude. I know they say we're close this time, but do you really believe we're close? Guys, I'm going to hang up, let y'all have the rest of the show. Good show as always. Thank you. And Kelly,
thank you.
Don't worry about them happy tears, buddy. They were happy tears. I've been there and done it. Congratulations.
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
Okay, let's all give a quick answer. Kelly, go.
I think so. I think Major League Baseball wants to come to Nashville. Yes.
Billy?
That's why I asked you, because I said I feels like we're closer to maybe 8-10 years. You said 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably in the next 4 or 5 years that this whole thing develops. I'll leave it this way. If we don't get a team this time, it will be a tragedy, because ultimately we will have not done something that needed to get done, because baseball wants us. I know we got to go to the. Go ahead, Kelly.
This is one of the biggest entertainment cities in the country, though. You got Las Vegas, you got Nashville, and Nashville knows how to put it on.
Amen. Yeah. Plaster bet of the day with yet another victory is coming up next.
Claws out. It's the AF1 Arena Crown Championship game between the Albany Firebirds and your Nashville Cats. Saturday, starting at 11:30 on both 102.5 The Game and Totally Hits 93.3.
This is Nashville Cats football. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Save big at the Electronic Express 4th of July sale with huge deals in every department. Get cooking this summer with this Traeger grill, just $4.99. Or watch your favorite movies on this LG 55-inch smart TV, only $279. At Electronic Express, the more you buy, the more you save. Shop now and save up to an additional $1,200 on all appliances. 24 months interest-free financing? We've got that too. Shop in store or at electronicexpress.com.
Many jobs, sports, recreational activities, getting older, or having arthritis in your knees increases your chances of having knee problems. Whether you're an active senior or a high school athlete with knee problems or injuries, the world-class doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can treat your knee pain or injuries. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you work and live. Visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Tuesday. Got some more baseball tonight, some good matchups. Braves and Mets, Cubs, Cardinals. We'll see where George is going with Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. We take a look at last night, and it was another win with the Diamondbacks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're now one game over 500.
Against the lowly White Sox, whatever,
Yeah,
George.
but look at the short line. That tells you Vegas wasn't all that certain about it. Got 2 plays tonight, both of them road teams, which is unusual for me. I'm going with Spencer Strider, who has been on fire the last 2 starts. I'm taking the Braves in New York against the Mets. And I'm taking the Cubs in St. Louis against the Cardinals. Kelly, if all works out well, tomorrow will be 3 over 500.
Yeah, you made a comeback. There's no question. Good job.
Yep. Talk to you tomorrow. Mike Organ will join us at 3:20. Hope you'll be with us as well. See you then.